All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Gonna be touching on the top picks this week on DraftKings. So let's go ahead and get into it. And so right now, guys, I don't want to start out with the quarterback position. I actually want to start with the running back position. This is going to be one of the more difficult weeks, I would say, that we really have, because we have 2.5 really good running back plays to pay up for. We got Christian McCaffrey really in a smash spot against Seattle. My one concern against Seattle is that they are very much heavy favorites to win. Now, I think he's going to crush. He crushed against Seattle last time, but there is a little bit of concern about him maybe not having as big of a ceiling game. All in all, I do think he's kind of a first and easy click. Then from there, Alvin Kamara, probably an easier click. Given this matchup with Carolina, that's a matchup that we know that we want to be chasing. He has looked great this season, looked great last week against Detroit. He's going to be used in the passing game with how banged up they are. And he looks good on the ground game as well. Love the fact that he got 2 rushing touchdowns last week. We're not going to be banking on that every single week, but chances are he's going to give us 15 plus fantasy points. And so I do think that those are going to be 2 starting points. The issue that we're going to see on this slate is that, Austin Eckler's in a great spot. He has looked terrible. He's going to be low owned because of that. It wouldn't be surprising to see him go off against Denver. Kyron Williams continues to go off. If he went off against Cleveland, I don't think we're worried about his likelihood or not of going off against Baltimore. Chances are he's going to have a good game in this game as well. It's very interesting. Like if CMC only gets us 20 points, we could probably we could easily get, again, I don't want to say easily, we could get that same result from Kyron Williams at a much cheaper price tag. It becomes a little bit more risky where, obviously that's why he's priced this way and CMC is priced the way that he has. But Kyron Williams, for all intents and purposes, has been the second best fantasy running back this season. And we're getting him in at such a cheap price tag. From there, deciding between Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery, I don't think I want to do that. James Cook certainly in a Joe Mixon certainly in a smash spot this week. He played about 70% of the snaps last week in a very good matchup against the Colts at a cheap price tag. He's someone that also could go for 20 fantasy points. It wouldn't be shocking. Now, he is a little bit touchdown dependent in terms of really having upside, but the Colts, a great matchup, so I really don't mind him. Zach Moss played in 90% of the snaps, had 22 opportunities in that. Little bit of a better matchup in this one. And where I said I could see fading him against Tennessee, and that worked out, I could see jumping on here while people are like not loving the price tag. Even though it's not too expensive, he's probably still too cheap. From there, we're probably just dipping down. You can see someone like Alexander Madison, if he's going to continue to be the RB1 in this offense, he's going to be in a good spot. Probably too risky, though. A lot of people, I think, are going to go with Keenan Mitchell, and I'm not going to say that that's wrong either. I will say I do see a path in which they are up. Vegas thinks they're going to be up by more than a touchdown, and if they're up by that, we could actually see Gus Edwards getting more carries. Both of their rush attempts are both set like around 9. For what that's worth, but he has looked good. If he does get like 60% of the snaps in this one, definitely too cheap, but all in all, much more of a risky play. And then we got to figure out what to do with the Kansas City Chiefs, because right now we know that Isaiah Pacheco's out, and that's actually CEH pulling in a decent amount of ownership at about 13%. But guys, I want to point out that a lot of people are going with Bijan Robinson against Tampa. I'm not going to say that that's wrong. And they're also going with Zach Moss, and that actually is surprising to me. So that is to me where I actually think I really want to prioritize probably fitting both of those studs into our builds, Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara. We could be getting like 60 fantasy points there, at the least probably 40. And what I also find surprising, Joe Mixon at a cheap price tag, only pulling in about 13% ownership. Again, we could be getting around, let's say, 70 fantasy points from 3 running backs this week. And not every week is a week in which I want to be playing 3 running backs. This is going to be one of those weeks. And it does feel like we probably just want to play CEH or Jerick McKinnon. One of those two are going to have a good game. I still think that they're going to try to save McKinnon for the playoffs as long as possible. And for what's worth, CEH does not look bad. But for now, I'm going to put in Mixon. Obviously, this is really going to limit the line of path that we have. And all in all, I think Chase Brown looked better than Mixon last week. So that's a little bit of a concern as well. But then we go and take a peek at the quarterbacks for this week. I think a lot of people are going to be trying to get to Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, given the matchup that they're in. I'm not going to hate on that idea. Justin Fields, certainly rushing the football a lot. But where I was praising Justin Fields against Detroit, the flaws in his game that I have always thought were there really showed out. And so it's tough to know which Justin Fields we're going to get. Like I thought he might have, watching Tyson Bagent operate the offense how the coaches wanted, I thought he was going to take that next step. He did not. So that is a little bit of a concern for me at a cheap price, a GPP play. But all in all, I don't think we want to roll with him. Brock Purdy still feels a little bit too cheap, but starting to get priced correctly. Russell Wilson in a good matchup against the Chargers. He has been extremely consistent as a fantasy producer. You're not playing him hoping for 20. You're playing him hoping for 16. And if you're doing that, might as well really just take a risk with maybe Minshew, who can have some random upside games. But I really think I'm going to roll with a more risky play in Jake Browning. He just looked good, guys. He looked the part, and he looked pretty good against Pittsburgh. And really, you can say this is going to be by far his easiest matchup thus far. Against Baltimore, 10 DraftKings points. Against Pittsburgh, a tough defense, 13 DraftKings points. Then against Jacksonville, 30. Obviously, it balled out, but with everyone healthy in this offense, I do like that. The issue that I have here is that double dipping the chip, going Joe Mixon, Jake Browning, I don't exactly love. So that's where maybe we just eat the chalk then with Zach Moss. To me, that is a logical move, but we'll see how the lineup path comes to be. And we'll take a peek at the quarterbacks' ownerships here. Right now, it is actually Jake Browning pulling in his chalk, then Justin Fields, then Brock Purdy. The ownership's extremely spread out, though, as it should be. There's no clear-cut quarterback play, which I like, because then we're not forcing in a bad play. Let's go and take a peek at the receiver. So receiver-wise, people are kind of just saying that Rice is too cheap at 5.4. That's probably correct. 9 targets last week, 10 targets the week before that. Probably correct. 1 yard shy of getting a touchdown. This is going to be a high-scoring game. I can get behind that. From there, Jamar Chase at also a pretty cheap price tag. If you're playing Jake Browning, you're probably trying to play Jamar Chase. And again, that's where playing the 2 running backs, that's going to limit the lineup path that I can be on. So I don't know if you guys want to do that for sure. St. Brown in a great spot going against the Bears. Drake London, a lot of people are ending up on him because of price tag. Obviously coming in off of a bad matchup against the Jets. Should be able to have a better matchup this week against Tampa Bay. Much better matchup for him. Jonathan Mingo, a cheap value tag for him this week. A lot of people are ending up on him. I'm okay with that. You know, on the field a bunch, got a bunch of targets. I'm kind of okay with that. So we do have some value discount plays. I will say Garrett Wilson, also a cheap play going against Houston, 5.5 with Zach Wilson back. It's going to be an upgrade. Who would have thought we'd be saying that, right? But it is kind of clearly an upgrade. So we could be looking at that as well. And so receiver wise right now, I'm just going to go with some of those cheap plays because we are paying up for the stud running backs. So Drake London, I'm fine with. I will try to eat the chalk on Rice. I think that's correct. And then Mingo, very ugly doing that, guys. It truly is. I don't love the idea I'm passing up on all these stud receivers. Diggs in a high-scoring game against the Chiefs. Again, I think the likelihood for Kamara or CMC to have a massive game is better than Diggs. Keenan Allen's going to be a safe play. I think Justin Jefferson being back, don't love the idea of fading him. Devontae Adams, clearly too cheap going against Minnesota. I want to point that out. Like, he should be able to go off. Same thing for Jacoby Myers for what that's worth. But I feel fine with the plays that we were end up on given their price. So let's go ahead and take a peek at tight end position. So tight end, I don't feel the need to pay up for anyone this week, which is something that I typically try to do, is not pay up. But there have been some pretty cheap price tight ends that we have been able to pay up for. The starting point to me, tight end wise, is Kyle Pitts, which also sounds weird to say going against Tampa. It's a good matchup. We do worry about a ceiling. Like, I think Isaiah Likely makes for a better play, who got 4 receptions last week, 77% of the snaps, 6 targets, 40 yards. Not a terrible matchup for him. And then Gerald Everett as well, kind of splitting work with Darnell Parham, but still Justin Herbert trusts him, and that's a big thing there. He's had 2 big games since being back, averaging over 10 DraftKings points in those 2 games. All in all, very cheap, kind of safe play, it seems like. Going against Denver, also love that matchup. Reverend Jordan, people are going to be ended up on, but I kind of feel like Tyler Conklin with Zach Wilson back is kind of a safe play as well. Like, if we're messing around with any of those other plays, might as well just go with Conklin, who is one of Zach Wilson's favorite targets. You know, he's kind of been a stud. Don't want to say terrible. He has not been a stud, but has been a good value option for us with Zach Wilson at the quarterback. Then real quickly, just looking at the chalk at the tight end position, let's see. People are trying to pay up. Cole Kmet, I kind of missed. Hunter Long filling in for Tyler Higbee. I guess that's okay. Don't love it. But yeah, we're seeing Tyler Conklin only pulling in 3% ownership. I think that's a good spot for him. I'm okay with that. But yeah, you could punt and go with Hunter Long. I guess I don't hate that, but all in all, we're not expecting much from him. So this is still pretty crazy, guys. Like, I did pay up at running back, and we have a ton of salary left over for defense. Like, you could go the Bills there. And look at DraftKings. I had been harping on this for over a year now, like 2 years now. Play the mid-price defense when it's like, heck, there was times when we were getting them at like 1.9. They have kind of figured out that's stupid. Hopefully they figure out that defense is just stupid and they eliminate this next year. It's stupid. No one pays attention to it. It's what you spend the least amount of time on. For me, I guess I'm fine with the Bills. Obviously, that's going to be a high-scoring game, so I don't love that. Rams against Baltimore, I actually don't mind as well. Jets against Houston with how banged up they are. could be decent as well. I would say that's probably the best spot right now, but all in all, you don't love that. But look at this, 1.9 left over to really make any sort of upgrade that you guys want, whether it be like Mingo, going up from Mingo to maybe, I don't really love this, maybe Downs though. Probably not doing that. Could go up from London, could go up from Joe Mixon. So I don't know, we can go Alvin Kamara, and then you could go, let's see, Fleck, not doing Kelsey, but Jamar Chase, I think would make sense. Again, I do want to do 3 running backs. I think that that's going to be the way to go, but here's kind of a unique way of maybe looking at it. Let's see here. Could go to Adams instead of Chase. Then you have 4,000 left over for your flex. Still not great, but you can make some things work. Jacoby Myers. Then can you get up to Zach Moss? You might be 100 off. Yeah, 100 off. Oh, so, but all in all, you guys can kind of see the different lineup paths that we can go to make a good. That's gonna be all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to appreciate that. Let's have a good slate, and as always, let's keep cashing.